I think Lewis is appropriately bringing our screen share over to our criminal complaint of treasonous conspiracy by fraudulent medical war powers usurpation. Our friend Abraham Duran has, and qualified elector, has presented a complaint to our court. This is and this complaint is web linked in the document here. 404 not found. We got some problems there in the web links. Michael was pointing out I've got some problems. There it came up. The Exodus 18 citation had a problem in it. But thank you for bringing that up, Lewis. Yes. And see, at this point, I know it's just kind of me ranting here, but a lot of work has been done preliminary to my ranting here, and such as the document that you're looking at here. I'm the one that mostly composed it. Abraham reviewed it and agreed that somebody needs to bring it before our court, and that's how we are proceeding here. I believe that's entirely lawful. Abraham's basically the complaining party. We've got a case before the court. Like Michael said earlier, things are deteriorating, and it's looking like violence is on the horizon. And we are the only ones capable of providing a nonviolent solution to the looming violence that's coming at us, because the entire Roman Empire superstructure thrives on violence and lawlessness and aggression. Their judicial officers, their executive officers. There may be exceptions. There may be a small percentage of officers therein that are basically good people trying to make a barn door fly, or however you want to illustrate the idea. But the system is designed to oppress common people. The system is designed to insulate from accountability. And a complaint, a court, in order for a judicial officer in a court to command executive officers to execute warrants, to use force, to resist forcible vaccinations, or to arrest criminal conspirators such as Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci, before any of that can happen, there needs to be two things. There needs to be a complaint before the court, somebody, a moving party, a natural person bringing a complaint before a court. That's number one. Number two, need to have a court of competent jurisdiction, of competent lawful authority to adjudicate the matter and to render the appropriate remedy in response to the complaint being brought before the court. And so it's really important to have a proper complaint before the court. And this coronavirus medical emergency complaint is a model. Michael and I have discussed using the same model for Federal Reserve banking and a whole economic system type complaint. In fact, the Federal Reserve banking system is named in this complaint. If you scroll down to look at the list of defendants there in the left column, the Federal Reserve bankers are named. Each of the 12 Federal Reserve banks, like Michael was talking about, there's 12 Federal Reserve banks. It plugs into the metaphysics. It's all the present system of government and economic system is designed to collapse. These people expect we, the common people, to figure this out at some time in the future. And guess what? We're figuring it out right now. We're just not yet organized enough. But the entire Roman Empire model of government is designed for the potential of collapsing and being replaced by a pure common law, Israelite Torah law model of government. That's why they've got 12 Federal Reserve banks. That's why they've got 12 circuit courts under the Supreme Court, is because it's designed to be converted to a common law model as the Roman Empire model system of government collapses and the common law jurisdiction is moved into. The vacant offices there are moved into by the people, and in moment-by-moment transition. It should be smooth and painless if we do this right. That as the Roman Empire model of government and their entire fraudulent medical emergency is dismantled by our jury verdicts here, as that corrupted military police state form of medical emergency, medical martial law is what we're looking at here, is dismantled and replaced with a legitimate, lawful judicial process and governmental process. Putting some finishing touches on some comments about agenda item, I believe it's 5 or so, our coronavirus medical emergency criminal counter complaint that we're in position, and at this point, we've constructed a model jury verdict to that isn't talking in terms of arrests of Bill Gates or Anthony Fauci or anybody else, but it is declaring our authority to resist with forced vaccinations, and this is where the rubber is meeting the road right now. We just need volunteers to step into the vacant offices of the Chief Judicial Officer of each of the super states there, and thereunder act as a juror to arrive to build consensus around final wording of the jury verdict that's web-linked in the invitation document there, and we can make modifications to it, but we need 12 reputable people to lend us their authority to use their names and list their names as jurors in their individual superstates, and thereunder we have the 7th Amendment jury verdict that sets a higher standard of law than the emergency war powers government that is causing this whole coronavirus emergency. We're taking their emergency war powers de facto jurisdiction away from them, and we're setting a higher standard through our jury verdict. This is the entire scheme of common law, is to get everything adjudicated by juries. It creates a natural presumption that justice is being harmonized with, that natural law is being harmonized with, because it's almost impossible to get 12 people to agree on anything unless what they're agreeing on is harmonious with natural justice and natural law. And so this raises the bar over the emergency war powers jurisdiction of the de facto government, and it'll shut down all of their emergency war powers declarations, not just regarding this coronavirus, but regarding the Federal Reserve Bank. That whole thing is emergency war powers. All kinds of emergency war powers are messing with us. So anyway, please, everybody, be prayerful. Review that jury verdict document as well as the complaint document here. And next time around, please volunteer to step forward. We were just finishing up talking about the coronavirus complaint that Abraham Duran has brought before our Supreme Court of Law, and that we've got a model jury verdict that we're requesting that people consider, study, and get comfortable with the idea of standing up and speaking out against the evil empire by affirming your position as a juror to declare that the present coronavirus emergency is a fraud. I need to develop mechanisms for getting people actively involved in what is already on the table. Specifically, jurors for the coronavirus jury verdict. I think that is, especially it includes Federal Reserve Bank defendants. If we can start getting jurors, qualified electors, to agree to serve as a delegate representative jurist from your superstate, that will move us forward. I'm already volunteering to be the jury foreman and one of the 12 jurors on there. So we've got myself as one juror for the super state of Texas. But and I may have heard of another one too, but anyway, we need people to declare that they're willing to sign on as jurors. That is one area where we need people to start getting active. So if there's anyone here that is willing to sign on as a juror to move forward with one of our jury verdicts like this, can you please step forward and say so now? I yield.
I haven't read a lot. This is Cynthia. I haven't read the documents or anything, but I am definitely for the virus not being vaccine and stuff, so I'm willing to step forward for that.
Excellent, excellent. And I'll make sure that you've got a copy that you can read of the rough draft of the jury verdict so that you know exactly what you're signing on to. And I think there was a lady, Nancy, from Michigan, that also indicated her reserve but general affirmation that she's willing to sign on. I think Lewis noted that too. So that means that we've got Nancy from Michigan, Cynthia from South Carolina, and myself from Texas. We've got 3 people willing to stand up as qualified electors and jurists to represent our superstates in a Supreme Court of Law judgment for the whole people of the USA on regard to this issue. That's 25% of what we need to have, and so it's a good start here. And please, I ask everybody here to try to become familiar with the documents and what's going on here so that you can consider prayerfully whether or not you're ready to stand up and do it. And if personal circumstances don't allow you to do it, maybe you can communicate these documents to other people that don't have your similar circumstances and do have the capabilities of comfortably standing up and speaking out in the cause of truth and justice for our American people on this issue. So, one more time, anybody else ready to step forward at this time, or should we table this particular issue for later discussion? I yield.
Hey, Charles, this is David in Texas. Sign me up, and I will be, I know we haven't communicated a lot, but I will be declaring legal residency in Oklahoma here very, very shortly. So, we can talk about it, but sign me up. I think I'm uniquely qualified. I've got dual citizenship. I have 2 legal names with my married name of my wife and then my birth name, and I want to jump out and be used by the group and continue to fight this thing head on. So sign me up, please.
Thank you, David. That's 4. We're 33% of the way to having a full lawful jury verdict that we can, at that point, I can start putting it in the face of the President and the Vice President and William Barr with Department of Justice and FEMA and Homeland Security, all of these people. This is how this document is designed to establish a quick and efficient brick wall against that emergency war powers de facto municipal jurisdiction. Because when we're a responsibly self-governing community, as affirmed through the 7th Amendment jury verdict, then that's a really big, nasty brick wall that they can't get through lawfully. So thank you very much, David. That's excellent. We're moving in the right direction. I don't want to put any undue pressure on anybody here. I should yield. Is there comments, questions from anybody?
Yes, this is Cynthia. I just wanted to iterate more, add on to the situation with the corona situation. Is very important because we don't know what they're planning on doing. And we know we're facing something. And whatever they're planning on doing is not for our good. And we have children, family members, and we don't want them to be harmed by that. So that's something we should think about. And only 12 jurors for we to get started and be ahead of this game because they're planning something. And we need to really focus on that because we want to be able to protect our families. I yield.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. The history of the persecution of spiritual people that want to responsibly self-govern, this is the nature of the conflict between the Roman Empire and Israel in older ancient times, and it's similar conflicts between the Roman Catholic Church and what eventually became Protestants, was largely Gnostic tribal people. But the brutal murder of people like William Tyndale and Mr. Wycliffe that were producing the first Bibles, the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, so-called, unholy is more accurate, they brutally murdered people because they were wanting total control over all of what claimed to be Christianity. Fortunately that survived, and it continues on in America and England. But that same authoritarian, despotic lust for power, brutal, murderous lust for power, it continues in existence with us at this very day. And when we start assuming authority to responsibly self-govern, especially on a national level, we're going to start getting reactions from the de factos. One thing, a few people have asked me, Terry from Hawaii specifically, in the current emailing of the invitation, I've been including an email address for the U.S. Department of Justice and the President and the Vice President, and I'm planning on expanding that to include Nancy Pelosi and as Speaker of the House and all kinds of other de facto government officials, probably head of Homeland Security and FEMA. I'm planning on expanding that, and that was a point of concern with Terry from Hawaii and maybe of a few others here. Mr. Stewart, why are you pulling the tiger's tail here, so to speak? You know, they're going to get mad at you. They're liable to come in with a SWAT team and drag me off to a federal prison, and maybe some of our other participants here. Well, I'm not worried about it for myself, and I think most of the rest of us here are pretty ready for the spiritual battle. The aggressors are coming against us constantly, and we only get to choose the point at which we will confront them, and we can keep kicking the can on down the road. But that makes it worse for when we do have to pay. That's how the entire economic system of America is presently being run. They're continuing piling on debt and piling on debt and piling on debt. They're kicking the can down the road, and nobody's ever talking about squaring up the books and living within our means. Similarly, the responsibly self-governing communities, we cannot continue to be kicking the can down the road. We need to be drawing a line in the sand and saying it stops here. And if they're going to drag us off to a FEMA camp or something, do it right now. The rest of us, if they come to my place here in Texas and they drag me off to a FEMA camp or something, I imagine at least a few of you will be able to figure that out, and you'll know that the fight is on. Well, and it's already been on numerous times. What they did to the Branch Davidians in Texas, and Vicki Weaver, and the Oklahoma City bombing, they murdered their own. They murdered good FBI agents. Bad FBI agents murdered good FBI agents. Bad judicial officers murdered good judicial officers. There is no honor among thieves. We are the only game in town, and we desperately need to draw a line in the sand. And see, they are aggressors. They are aggressors. And when we draw a line in the sand, and like in Cynthia's case, that's a good example. If and when they come out and they try to kick Cynthia out of her house there in South Carolina, that's an act of military aggression. And when we make the case real clear, like we have in the most recent versions of our racketeering and corruption complaint against them to quiet title and remove cloud, and we make the record that we are in the peaceable possession of that house, and if they have sheriffs come out, deputies come out, and forcibly remove her, that's an act of international aggression. That's the point at which if Cynthia was real macho, she probably won't do this, but technically speaking, she could pull out guns and blast at corrupted sheriff's deputies that are enforcing unlawful foreclosures. And everybody across America has the right to do it. It's what the rule of law means. Okay? We got the right to defend ourselves against lawless aggressors, even if they're occupying government offices and wearing uniforms. Those offices and uniforms mean nothing when they're involved in commission of crime, and they can be summarily executed. That's what the rule of law means. Nobody is above the law in America. And so I'm ranting quite a bit there, and I'm losing. I should yield and allow comments and questions here. I'm saying some pretty bold things. I yield.
Yes, this is Cynthia. I understand totally what Charles was saying, and what I was saying before is because this is not just about me losing my house, because material things is about somebody taking it away from me in that way, but it's personal because not only that they're doing foreclosures, they are also committing murder, even in the hospital. There's a lot of things going on. So this dominant control system, this evil system, got to stop. It is very personal to me because I was not able to save one of my family members, but I watched him being killed in the hospital. And it was like whatever the doctor said. And I'll say it again, I watched him being killed. So this is very, very important for this system to stop because they're evils, they're devils, and they do not care about us, as we can see. So it needs to be stopped. So we're going to have to stand up and say enough is enough. So this is one thing that I'm doing, but I am focusing on bringing down this system, and I'm not afraid because I'd rather be dead than be held by somebody telling me what I can do and cannot do and take my life at any time. That's death by itself. So we have to stand up for this. We have to stand up for our children and all of our loved ones. This is enough. There's no room to be afraid. If you're going forward for this, because as we can see, they're evil. That's why we are afraid. And how could you live life? You can't live life being afraid. That's not true life. And watching, you can't even protect your own family. Because no matter how much money you got, if they're in control of this system, whenever they want to take that money away from you, whenever they want to take all those things you're afraid of losing, they can't. I yield.
Thank you, Cynthia. That was great. Comments, questions, anybody else?
This is David. I just want to say that I do honor very much what Cynthia has as her conviction there. And I share those thoughts very much. I'm also siding with what Mike said last week, and he keeps reminding us is that we need numbers, and let's stick together, and none of us have to stick our necks out too far. I yield.
Very good. Yes. If we all move together in a large organized community, then they can't accuse us all of being criminals or anti-government activists. Yeah. There is no doubt. There is strength in numbers. And I use the jury verdict document that we're focusing on here is a mechanism, I believe, for recruiting people into the movement.
So, anyhow, what I was saying though, it really helps people draw a line in the sand if they know what went wrong, how it went wrong, and who was to blame. Okay, so with that said, I would like to, this is for the purpose of education and self-governance, like you're talking about. Each state in the Union has got somewhere in their constitution that political powers are inherent in the people, and the free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. And they may alter, reform, or abolish their government in such a manner as they may think proper. In different ways, this has been, I believe, at all 50 of the constitutions for the states. So when you're talking about a superstate, you're talking about this kind of political power that is inherent in the people. They're indefeasible and is unalienable, unalienable. They cannot put a lien on it.